the whole mindset was like who on earth wants to run like 3 marathons like, this close together? But I think rather than thinking about like how hard it might be, it was like this is kind of cool, crazy, like that's where I was. I'm like, I don't know. Then I just believed in myself. Like I was like, I think I could do this. Like I actually think I could pull this off. Like, and then it's like the fitness was there, right? It's like, what better way to train for a marathon than to like run a marathon, like do the longest tempo possible. Like I did it, so I didn't really need to like do any crazy training in between. It was just like, just kind of, yeah, it just became my own little new game is what happened. Like, I'm kind of like, should I do 1 and 2 weeks? Like, cause it now became fun, right? It became fun rather than like this, like stressful, high pressure situation.
Women's running. Women's running stories.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maegan Krifchin. I am a professional marathon runner for Atlanta Track Club. I live and train in Atlanta, but I'm also an occupational therapist. So I work in a pediatric clinic along with a hospital down here. And I've been training and running for like basically my entire life. I started in high school and, I've transitioned from a mid-distance runner to a marathoner, and I love it.
Yes, we're going to get into exactly how much Meagan loves the marathon by telling the story of how she ran 3 marathons back to back to back, each 2 weeks apart. But before we get to that, welcome to the podcast. This is Women's Running Stories, and I am Cherie Louise Turner. I am your host and producer, and the music that you hear behind me is original music by Cormac O'Regan. And I'm so excited to have you here. And I can tell you from the top that this was not Meagan's plan. It was not her plan to run New York City on November 6th, and then 2 weeks later run Philadelphia on November 20th, and then run CIM out in Sacramento, California on December 4th. Her plan, in fact, was to run New York, totally nail it, and end her season there. But of course, that's not how things turned out. And we're going to tell you all about how that all unfolded. So for this episode, we're just going to focus in on these 3 marathons. And if you want to learn more about Meagan, we've actually had her on the show before. She was part of our live show before the 2022 Boston Marathon, and we featured Meagan and Marilyn Bevins, and that was co-hosted by myself and Lisa and Julie from the Run Farther and Faster podcast. So if you want to learn more about Meagan, you can go there, but you should know that Meagan, like she said, she's been a runner for most of her life. She was an 800-meter specialist up through college, and then over time, she has worked her way up to the marathon. And just to add a little more context here, Meagan is among the best American marathon runners, and she is known for giving tough, gritty performances. Fittingly, she's been compared to Des Linden, and in fact, coming into the 2016 Olympic Trials Marathon, when Des Linden was asked who her dark horse favorite was, she picked Meagan. So Meagan has been an exciting athlete to follow, and not the least of which is right now. And I do want to give you some pertinent stats going into this story. First of all, Meagan has been running the marathon since 2015. She set her PR at Chicago in 2021 with a 2:30 marathon. Coming into New York, she was aiming to better that time, but as you'll hear, that did not happen. At New York City, Meagan ran a 2:40 to come in 24th place. At Philly, she ran a 2:31 for second place, which was completely awesome, of course, but also a bit of a heartbreaker because, as you'll hear, she was only 6 seconds off the win. And then at CIM, she ran a 2:29 to get that PR, break the 2:30 barrier, coming in 7th place. And that's one of the things that makes this story so wild and great is that Meagan actually improved marathon over marathon. It's absolutely amazing. And it's worth noting too that CIM was the US Marathon National Championships. A couple other things to take note of is Meagan's going to mention a few names in here, and just so you know who she's talking about, she mentions Nell in the New York City Marathon. That's Nell Rojas. And when she talks about CIM, she mentions Bria and Katja, and that's Bria Wetch and Katja Goldring, and they came in 4th and 5th respectively. So let's get on with it. Let's hear Meagan's story about how she ended up running 3 marathons in less than 30 days and got better every single time until she just crushed it. Meagan starts us off with a little reflection on why she likes to run marathons so much. Here's Meagan.
Yeah, the marathon, it's like a constant learning experience, like you could be at it for however many years and you're still figuring it out, like where maybe the 10K, the 5K, like you can kind of race one every weekend and like, figure it out sooner, but there's not as many opportunities in the marathon. But I like the challenge, and it's like the marathon is just like a beast. You do one, get the fear level unlocked or something, and then you're like, you know what? I could do this better. And it's really cool to go to the marathon and just like the respect amongst like everyone in the field. It's like, like, hey, you're at this marathon. Like, I know you worked your butt off to get here. Like, it's amazing you're even at the starting line, right? Because that's always like a battle in itself to stay healthy enough to make it there. And at this point in my career, it's just like opportunities, right? Where it's like, I'm very well aware, like, that might be the last chance I get to do this, or, like, so I'm like, let's take advantage of the things we could take advantage of now, just because you don't know if you'll ever circle back to this moment again, so that's where I'm at. And the goals are partly built into that whole outlook of like, okay, if I want this, like the time is now. Yeah, it's just kind of like, to take advantage of the opportunities and the time that I have left in the sport at this level. So yeah, New York has been New York, and it's like been my baby because like I'm a New Yorker. I was supposed to do it a couple of years back and it didn't happen. So, I've just been like waiting to do it. And, the time was finally coming. So I was just happy. And I just thought I would have like this moment, like, in my city around like my family and my people and, get to like, I don't know, I just wanted to have that like moment to shine the brightest I've ever shined, I thought that would have been like a breakthrough day and there was so much meaning to it. So yeah, I just started like dumping my life and soul into New York like all summer and fall. And like things were going very well for the buildup. But yeah, like training was pretty solid. We got after it pretty early into like the late summer. And, I felt really, really strong, especially in like the longer efforts, the long runs. And yeah, like at the end of the day, like the most consistent thing was I felt strong. The main goal out there was like, I thought it was like a good goal was top 10, like I was like, yeah, if I came in like 10th, like I think it was in reach, like I definitely think I was able to compete with like, our top Americans. And that's where like, I think Nell finished 10th. So I think that was doable on the right day, and then like to PR. So like, it was still like that sub 2:30. I thought I could do it at New York. Like, would I have my biggest personal best that I was capable of at New York? No, because New York is like a difficult course. It's not a pancake flat situation, but I was okay with like that trade-off. It was like, yeah, like I might be sacrificing like a minute to do New York, but I want to do New York. But that was my goal. Try to aim for the top 10. I mean, if worst case or whatever, like it would be a top 15 and then still PRing. But then the weather was what it was. So I knew time was probably going out the window. But I still even thought I could have creeped under 2:30 in the conditions. And I don't want to say it was like a total train wreck, but it wasn't good. Yeah, I just felt off and I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, that happens in the marathon. I don't know if it was like something in my taper or, just I was having an off day or whatever. I just felt a little flat. So the race went off and it was fine. Like, I stayed with the pack at, I don't know, it was through after at least 5K, but you should kind of feel very, very relaxed, like at least the first 10 miles. Like it should be like, okay, when's this going to start getting hard? Like but instead it was like, I'm not feeling that great. And we're like 3 miles into this race, So Yeah. And I held on fine. I actually backed off and I was like, I was okay with that. I'm like, you know what? Like, this is too fast for the conditions. Like, I'm going to back off and people are going to, you know, come back to me. And that would have been possible if I didn't fall back myself, So, um, and then I was trying to convince myself, like, let's hold it together. You're still okay. Because even when I was off the pack, I was still running pretty fast. Wasn't until like after the Queensboro or on the Queensboro Ridge where I was like, this is over, But so I was trying to keep myself calm and like still on for a little bit, just because the marathon's crazy. Like, you never know what's going on up front. Like, like if you're not with the front pack, like you have no idea. Are people coming back? Do people drop out? Like, what's going on? Like, so you could always kind of keep yourself going just because you're like, I could very well still be in this thing. So that's where I was. But once I was like, knew I wasn't able to like open up and have the turnover that I wanted to, yeah, it was just, total defeat sort of. But I was just convincing myself like, nope, you are going to keep rolling and you're going to get to the finish line because this race meant so much to you. And so finishing will be like, a win in itself. But I was so heartbroken, I was like disappointed and heartbreak and like I was crushed. I was just frustrated, I was like, this sucks. I just crossed the line. I was like immediately hysterical. And I don't know if it was like, it was just emotional, right? Where it was like, it was really hard to get to the finish line just because of, feeling the way I felt and just the mental battle of like, working through 10 miles of hell, and then just like the emotions behind the heartbreak of what just happened and not having the day I wanted and everything that I imagined for that day or visualized for that day was like not even close. So it was just like fatigue, heartbreak, defeat, like everything crossing that line. And so I just went into that little breakdown state for a bit. And, yeah, I was just just was like, where's my coach? Like I just wanted to like see her and get that, just a little, support from her or just a hug of knowing like we worked really hard to do this today and it just didn't happen and it sucks. Yeah, so my coach is Amy Begley. She's an Olympian. She has been in the sport for such a long time. She's super knowledgeable, and she's just like, it's nice to have that support of someone that has been through it all themselves. So she knows, and she knows what it's like to be competitive and be a fighter and want more and, think things suck sometimes and whatever. So she just gets it, and we have like a nice relationship. Like she knew like she was just proud that I worked through that. And it just shows like, yeah, that my strength as a runner in, mind and body. I mean, I'm a fighter, so I've had to work through a lot of stuff, like through all my life challenges and stuff, like whether it was injury or personal stuff and whatever. Like one of my friends, she's just like, you're just a little warrior. Like, a lot of people can't like aren't able to work through certain things that I've worked through and find a way and, get better and, like have better performances after whatever. So like, I that means something to me, like that she said that.
Hi, I'm Christina Yerling-Biro, host of the podcast Pop Culture Confidential. Join me as I go way behind the scenes with some of the most influential people in entertainment and media. Hear actors such as Succession's Brian Cox talk about his favorite characters to play.
There always has to be a mystery. The audience have to be in a situation where they want to know what's going on.
Meet studio execs like Pixar chief Pete Docter and learn his secret on how he makes us cry.
Emotion is our first language.
And so many others who are defining popular culture, from Obama speechwriter David Litt to Top Chef host Padma Lakshmi.
We don't often think about food politically, or we don't want to, but it really is.
Join me. Search for Pop Culture Confidential wherever you get your podcasts.
like the marathon is not like super fun. Like it is really hard, and it is a battle every time. Even if you're having a great day, it's work. So I finished that race in New York. I was like pretty bummed out, and yeah, I was talking to my circle of people, and I'm just like, is that it for me? Like, am I ever gonna do one again? Like that's the mindset I was in. Like, and then the people are like, oh no, you'll do another one, and I'm just like, I don't know, like marathon is kind of sucks, like that's where I was. But then, yeah, like, my friend Colin Leak from the Philadelphia Marathon PR Elite, he just reached out as like a friend, but was like, do you want another crack at it in Philly in 2 weeks? Like, and at the time, like, I mean, we're friends, and I'm like, you're joking, right? Like, I'm like, and he's like, I don't know, like, if you want it, it's there, and then at first I was like, hard no, like, that's stupid, like, there's no way I'm going to bounce back and feel good and actually do anything there. But then just walking around after New York that day, I felt fine. So it just felt like I had just done like a long run or whatever, like, cause yeah, I ran half the race pretty strong, but the rest of it was like okay, right? So it wasn't like I really put myself through like a grinder in that sense of like really fast, like intensity. It was like a grinder of long sustained effort, right? So yeah, I think it was like, give me a few days. Like, then I thought about it, I was like, I actually feel good. Like, like I think I could probably do it. And then I told them, just give me a few days. Like, I'm gonna take a few days off, but I'm gonna go for a run. I'll let you know how I actually feel when I run. And then like my first run was awful. Like I just felt like just flat, but I think it was like travel, and I worked a whole day and whatever. And then I felt absolutely normal the next day. And then I hopped into a workout with my team, and I felt fine. I was like, yep, Colin, sign me up. Like, I'm good to go. As far as time goals, like I did think I was capable of PRing, because like, let's not forget, like I was very, very fit going into New York. So like the fitness was there. Like I didn't have to change anything after New York. I in like 10 days, right? Like I took like a few days off after New York and was racing again, that like 227-ish shape that I thought I was in was still in me. But the weather was questionable, right? It was like 30 degrees, felt like 20 at the start, like, and like, I don't know, 15-mile-an-hour winds or whatever it was. So I was like, and I just ran a marathon. So like, I was like, it would be cool if I PR'd, but like, I was like, oh my God, imagine how funny it would be if I won this race like 2 weeks after New York. That would be hilarious. Like that was the mindset. And so yes, I guess the general goal was to win. But no, I did just run a marathon. So I had that in me where it was like a little hesitation, right? Like where it was like, well, I could push early with like the front two. Like I think we were all pretty much together through 10K, but I was just like, I need to control myself a little, because I don't know. Like I've never had this experiment done for myself before, you know what I mean? So like I was like, if I keep grinding, it could blow up in my face. But well, surprisingly, I really closed, and I don't know if we had a little bit of wind aid, at our back at that time or what, but I still remember fighting through some wind. So maybe it was swirling, but I felt like really fresh, and like I was at the end of a half marathon, so I felt good, and it was fun to like grind and try to catch more people. I mean, I didn't even know I was closing on the leader until like the last straightaway, basically. So the 6 seconds, that always gets you. It's like it could be any person finishing and even not even winning, but you could have beaten so and so if you had 200 more meters, 100 more meters, whatever. But yeah, so that it's a bittersweet situation. I was like, oh my goodness, like, and I looked so good, and everyone's like, wow, you looked amazing, like that last like whatever mile stretch, like your stride was like so open, and you looked like you were just sprinting. So yeah, I mean, that was the first thing that went through my mind when I crossed the line. I was like, oh God, darn it, like like I could have found 6 seconds anywhere, yeah, that is kind of a stinky feeling. But at the end of the day, I was like really happy that I just pulled off this like crazy double. But I was like almost annoyed at myself, because I'm like, God, I feel fine again. Like it's like annoying, like I want to feel like I just worked really hard and my legs are dead. But instead I'm like, yeah, I feel like I could go running this evening if I wanted to, and like, so that's where it was like, am I done? And, like, the whole thing too was like, God, did I, when I backed off, like, did I need to back off? Like those are the questions that are going through my head. Like I guess I could have just stayed with the leaders and, like maybe I would have been like, maybe I wouldn't have closed as hard, but, maybe instead of like closing in whatever I closed in like 5:20 or something, like maybe I would have just held on at 5:40 something pace. And then that could have been the PR that I was looking for and the win, but, so that's where it was like, could I get away with another one? Like, so even before Philly, when Colin mentioned it, then I was thinking about it and I was like, like, that might be tough to do 2 weeks later. Like maybe I'm better off like just saving it for CIM. Like that was, so CIM was kind of in my mind even before Philly sort of, but then I was like, oh, like the fitness is here. Let's do it now. Like, like 4 weeks could be a long time to string it out, and, but yeah, so CIM was kind of always in the back of my mind. And then, yeah, like after Philly, like once again, I thought it'd be funny. Like, I was like, could you imagine what people would say? Like if I just showed up at like, and they're like, what are you doing here? You just raced 2 races, so, and then it was like, can I do this? Like that became like the challenge of like, am I able to do this? Can my body handle this? Like, let's see. Why not? And yeah, my goal there was I wanted to break that silly little barrier that literally means nothing to anybody, but it meant something to me. Like, to break that 2:30. I wanted it so bad. Like this has been something I've wanted for a while, and like I knew I could do that. And I wasn't setting myself up to like, like I know I'm capable of like a 2:27. Like I was like, no, let's just break that barrier. Like that would be a nice way to end this like three-peat, right? Like, so I kind of went in that, and yeah, my goal was let's just run this time, something that you could be proud of, something you could walk away with, and know like, wow, I just did this, I just pulled this off. And just like how my body was responding after both races, I was like this isn't like, this might sound crazy to other people, but like I don't think it's that crazy. I think I could do it. Like I just had that like innate intuition, like self, in my self-belief, like whatever, that it was like, this is totally doable. And like, if I just run my own race and focus on me and not like everything else, like I'll be fine. And so, yeah, that's exactly what I did. Well, I crossed the line. Yeah. And I was like, really happy, like, oh my God, I just freaking did it. Like I knew I could do it and I did it, like that's so nice. But yeah, I think I saw like Bria and Katja like right after, and Katja was just kind of like, she came in fifth that day, and she was like, how did you just do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like they had a great day, and but they knew I did well, and on top of that, it was my third, and I just PR'd, and so I think there was like respect there, but it made me feel good, and I was like, I honestly don't even know, like and that's what people are asking me, like, what is the magic? Like, what are you doing? What is like the recovery game? Like what? And I'm like, honestly, like. There's no magic, and I'm not really doing anything. Like I'm not even being like this perfect example of an athlete. Like, like you would think I would have broken by now, or like, something would have gone wrong. And so I'm like, maybe I'm one of those freaks that like the more load, the better. Like, I don't know. Like maybe it could be like a lot of load, maybe less intensity, but I don't know. Like I definitely learned a lot. And I did have, it wasn't like I felt perfect. Like after Philly, my hip was like a little wonky feeling, and I've had issues with that hip before. So I'm like, oh boy, like, is it like, am I going to break in the race? And yeah, like I just learned that I am capable. That's all. Like I am literally capable of handling a lot, and a lot of craziness and intensity. And, cause the marathon is just a lot. Like it is. So yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know what's happening, but it's really cool. And I think that's what I needed. Like I think for a long time, running was just, a job kind of, and it lost its thrill. It lost it. I mean, the thrill was always there of like, can you PR and can you win and stuff like that. But yeah, like, it's okay to be a little bit fearless, and it's okay to, make a new challenge for yourself. And it's okay to like throw a crazy idea out there. And yeah, I mean, believe in yourself and have fun and find a way to keep the thrill of it being still fun and kind of funny and like, like you can play with it, like playful, like like let running or let your athletics or whatever endeavors you're on still be playful. Then that way it's exciting still.
I love at the end of it all, after running 3 marathons in less than 30 days, Meagan's takeaway is that it was funny and fun, and that it sparked something in her running that had maybe been a little bit flat for a while. And what struck me in there too was the fact that she kept mentioning how much she believed in herself and her abilities. And it really reminded me of Hillary Allen saying the same thing in her story. And if you haven't listened to Hillary's story, I'll link to it in the show notes. I will also link to Meagan's Instagram. She's a great follow, and it'll be exciting to see what she does in the future. Of course, I will link to all the ways that you can stay in touch with us here at Women's Running Stories. You can visit our website. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and we are on Facebook. So you'll also be able to find all of those links. I want to thank Meagan so much for sharing the story on the show. She's gotten a lot of interviews lately because it is really exciting what she's done, and it's gotten a lot of people pretty fired up. I also want to mention that we are proud new members of the Evergreen Podcast Network. We came into the network with 2 other women-hosted podcasts that focus on women in sports. That's Hear Her Sports and Keeping Track. If you do not subscribe and listen to those shows, please do. They're both fantastic. And of course, I would love it if you subscribe to our show as well and keep listening. On that note, thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate you listening. And I do not make this show by myself. As I mentioned, Cormac O'Regan does all the original music and he scores the show, and he does that from his studio in Cork, Ireland. April Mariner does all the graphics for the show, the website, the logo, the social media posts, all of it. And you can find April at bonfirecollaborative.com, and she comes to you from Truckee, California. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I am your host and producer. And for a little bonus before you leave, I did ask Meagan if she was interested in pursuing ultras. Knowing that your body can go through this kind of punishment and having the kind of speed she does, it's sort of a natural question to ask. I know I think she'd be great at it. And here's what she had to say. I'm going to let her take it out. Here's Meagan.
Yeah, I've gotten that from a few people, and like one of my good friends, he's an ultra guy. He's like, this looks like ultra training. Like you should just do an ultra. Like, so I've never really thought about, like, I went to his ultra. I was in DC at the time, and it was like 100-miler. It was like 5 20-mile loops. And I thought it was crazy, because like we're in the middle of the woods at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and we send them on their way, and their like pit stop is all this junk food because they're trying to get like as much calorie dense food in as possible. So it's like candy and peanut butter and just like junk food, like soda, like whatever. It's like, I was like, are you serious? Like how is this not going to obliterate your stomach? But yeah, so at that time I was like, there's no way, like the marathon's plenty long, but now I'm like, maybe, like, I feel like I'm definitely like able to do it. Like, and I think my mind would be fine. I don't know. Like, I never thought about it. I definitely was like, I'm just gonna like, run a marathon, hit it one day and then retire, like, but now it's like, there's definitely more challenges out there that I didn't even put on my radar. And I'm like, I think I could be pretty damn good at the ultra then, like if I just pulled off this stunt, like, yeah, like why not? But I'd have to do a little bit more homework.
Women's running. Women's running stories.
Hi, I'm Christina Yerling Biro, host of the podcast Pop Culture Confidential. Join me as I go way behind the scenes with some of the most influential people in entertainment and media. Hear actors such as Succession's Brian Cox talk about his favorite characters to play.
There always has to be a mystery. The audience have to be in a situation where they want to know what's going on.
Meet studio execs like Pixar chief Pete Docter and learn his secret on how he makes us cry.
Emotion is our first language.
And so many others who are defining popular culture, from Obama speechwriter David Litt to Top Chef host Padma Lakshmi.
We don't often think about food politically, or we don't want to, but it really is.
Join me. Search for Pop Culture Confidential wherever you get your podcasts.